Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Brandon Alexander Williams. I appreciate you guys for showing up on time. We're going to officially start at 8:10. Waiting on a couple of our guest speakers to come on in here so I can make them speakers on the seminar. But we're going to be passing out the official information, and this meeting shouldn't be any longer than 30 minutes once we begin. So just hang tight. Any questions or preemptive questions that you might have, and in the meantime, go ahead and put that into the Q&A section, and we'll address it after we're done presenting. Thank you. Actually, while we're waiting, go ahead and type in the chat what city you're from. Type in what city you're from, so we can see who's all in the building. Who's all in the building? Because I sent out personal invites, but I know I gave permission for you guys to send out invites. So if you have friends that you want to invite, I'm cool with that. Just don't post it. You know what I'm saying? Just message them, text them, DM or email. Because we want to, we want to reach folks who are active in the arts. That's what's up. Chicago's in the house. Yeah, we're gonna start at 8:10 on the dot. I promise you. Y'all know anybody who's been to shows with me, y'all know I'll be starting at 7:59, 8:59, stuff like that. So at 8:10, we're gonna kick it off. And we got a couple of people that are affiliated with the Grammys that will be speaking on their behalf. But I'm gonna let you guys know basically pretty much what's going down as of right now with the spoken word category, and then I'm gonna let you guys know where we plan to go with it, and what I'm gonna do with this movement that I'm starting and collaborating with you guys on. 100 Griots take the Grammys, and so you guys will be a part of the 100 Griots and whatnot. So. Um, yeah, again, thank you for showing up early. We got about 21 folks in here. We got 70 people registered, so hopefully everybody show up. Let me see if any of my speakers have arrived yet. So yeah, we got DC in the house, New York in the house, Atlanta in the house, Philly in the house, Nashville, Tennessee in the house. What's good? Chi-Town, VA, Rock Island, Illinois, Atlanta by way of Cleveland. What's going on? What up? What up? Paige is my time. What's good, brother? St. Louis in the house, Jersey in the house. Um, let me see. Georgia. I always rep Chicago. Interesting. Okay, cool. That's what's up. That's what's up. Food for thought was good, big brother. Yeah. I'm gonna show you guys something that brother Food for Thought taught me. And I'm gonna encourage all of you guys to start doing. Dade County, okay. MIAO. Vito Money was good, brother. St. Louis in the house. So yeah, it's 8:03 right now. In 7 minutes, and exactly 7 minutes, we will be starting. So you won't miss anything. So if you got to use the bathroom, go ahead and do that. If you got to arrange something at your crib, I'm a parent. So if we got parents in the house, go ahead and do what you got to do. We're gonna start at 8:10 on the dot. 8:10 on the dot. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna do that. My video ain't on, but because they're recording, I make you keep the audio on. That's kind of annoying a little bit. Oh, what you make it on? Excuse me. I was supposed to mute that. My bad. Hey, what's going on? Mic check 1 2. Can everybody hear me? If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up in the chat. Give me a thumbs up in the chat. If you can hear me, good. Okay, cool. All right. Cool. All right, one more time. Go ahead and type your city. Type your city in the chat. I'm gonna see who's tuning in from where. See who's tuning in from where, and I'm gonna jump straight into the presentation. Chicago, Atlanta, Nashville, St. Louis. I'm guessing that means LA, DC, Cleveland, Harlem, Philly, Miami, DC, LA, Atlanta, Alexandria, VA, Nashville, St. Louis, Chicago, West Side. Where Triad, I think that's the 919 and all that. North Cac, Los Angeles, Oakland, East Orange, New Jersey. Okay, cool. All right, without further ado, man, for those, some of you guys know me, some of you guys don't know me, my name is Brandon Alexander Williams. I'm a poet, MC, and DJ from Chicago, with the west side of Chicago, Maywood, Illinois. Grew up in Peoria, Illinois. That's not important. What's important now is that I'm starting this thing called 100 Griots Take the Grammys. Now, last month, a good brother by the name of Jay Ivy reached out to me and said, hey, join this meeting. We're discussing some information regarding the Grammys. And so if any of you guys see Jay Ivy pop up in the chat, just get my attention somehow. But basically what he told me in a nutshell in the meeting, he said, hey, as far as the category stands right now, the spoken word category accepts spoken word albums, audiobooks, and storytelling albums. Now, most authors that are like famous authors, like Michelle Obama, for example, they have been submitting their audiobooks into the spoken word category to win awards. And so, unfortunately, the good brother by the name of Sekou Andrews, he got a nomination. Shout out to him. He's going to speak in a minute. But he got a nomination for the Grammy. However, to my knowledge, he'll speak on this, but to my knowledge, audiobook won the category. Now, of course, everybody say boo in the chat, right? Because that's some BS. Audiobooks should not win spoken word awards for Grammys because they don't do spoken word, right? And so we got to speak to Harvey Mason Jr., who's actually the CEO of the Grammys, and a couple of other execs. And what they told us is that for a category to be considered healthy, so to speak, it needs at least 50 submissions. And they said that last year that there were only 30 spoken word submissions. Somebody say "oh" in the chat, like "oh, only 30." Put 30 question mark. Only 30 albums were submitted. And so as a result, Jay Ivy was in there advocating. Big shout out to Jay Ivy. So Jay Ivy is currently the president of the Chicago chapter, which kind of covers the Midwest of the Grammys or the Recording Academy. And so he was advocating and saying, hey, this isn't fair. There should only be a spoken word poetry category. Audiobooks shouldn't be considered, and storytelling albums shouldn't be considered either. And so, the folks and the trustees at the Grammy were saying, hey, we hear what you're saying, but we need more submissions to back that. It's not a healthy category as a sub genre. And so what they told us is that we need more albums submitted. And so I'm starting this initiative. We all left the meeting, said, hey, we're going to submit more albums. And so I'm taking it upon myself to gather more poets. And so I'm putting a personal goal of submitting 100 albums. And so this initiative I'm starting called 100 Griots Take the Grammys is about you poets that are in here and poets that submitting albums. And so I'm going to get into my call to action, but before I do, I'm going to pass it over to Brother Sekou Andrews. And before I do introduce him, I'm going to let you know what he's done. Now, actually, hold on real quick before I introduce him. So pretty much we left the meeting saying, hey, okay, as poets, we're going to submit albums and flood the category so that we have a bigger chance for nominations, and then we'll be forced to the Grammys will be forced to create another category for audiobooks and kind of bump them out of our category. All right. And so as of I want to say 2 weeks ago, Jay Ivy just got inducted as a trustee. So he went from being the president of the Chicago chapter. Now he's a trustee. And as a result, when in the trustees room, you're kind of like in the room where it happens, where they're creating new categories and voting on big issues and stuff like that. And so what we need to do is kind of come with full force and submit our album so that he has something to work with while he's in there. And so when we show up with these submissions this time, they can say, how many submissions do we have? And we say, oh, we had 120 spoken word album submissions only from all around the country. Then they're gonna say, oh man, and then Jay gonna be like, hey, yo, we need to create another category. And so hopefully by 2023, there will be other subcategories. Right now it's just best spoken word album, but then it'll turn into best spoken word piece in a film, best spoken word production, right? Things like that. And so there will be bigger opportunities, of course, for the genre and for us to create it and go forth. Without further ado, I'm going to introduce my first guest speaker for today. And let me pull up this little spiel, this article I just saw on the brother. Come on, Zoom, don't do me like that. Real quick, brother Sekou, could you say a word or two so I make sure your audio sounds good?
Yo, what up?
All right, cool. All right, hold on one second. Let me read this off and then I'm gonna bring you in the right way. All right, yeah, let's share this screen. Dun, dun, dun. Boom. Okay. So come on, here we go. All right. Poet Sekou Andrews makes history with Grammy nomination. For the first time in 12 years, a contemporary spoken word poet has received a Grammy nomination in the Best Spoken Word Album category. The poet Sekou Andrews, for his self-titled avant-garde and very poetic six-track offering, Sekou Andrews and the String Theory. The album is super raw, by the way. I was listening to it a couple of days ago. It's off the chain. Maya Angelou was nominated in 2007, and prior to that, won the award in 2002 for A Song Flung Up to Heaven. Check that out, y'all. Y'all see this? In 12 years, a poet has won. Outside of that, it hasn't been a poet that won. All right? So just keep that in mind. Andrew's album is nominated alongside Michelle Obama, Becoming, which was an audiobook. And to my knowledge, she ended up winning that. She already won, you know what I'm saying? Other stuff. Yep. She don't need to win the spoken word category. We got to get her up out of there. Without further ado, I'm going to bring the brother on to speak, and I'm going to be quiet and mute myself. Sekou Andrews, go ahead. And I just want you to speak a little bit to your experience with submitting the album, and just, I guess, just your experience with the Grammys briefly. And then we're going to get Jay Ivy in here.
Yo, what up, folks? Cool. Good to see the homies in the house. What up, Matthew, Rashad, Kaniki, Georgia, me, all the homies out here. I appreciate food for thought. What up, folks? So yeah, you know, I'll just talk until you tell me, you know, it's not talk, because I wasn't really coming in with a presentation as much as just wanted to join and being supported. I mean, first of all, the real tragedy of it is 12 years was in our press release. And the reason why, just real talk, the reason why 12 years was the number was because we were trying to make sure that we were being respectful to Dr. Angelou, right? But the truth is, nobody really, including Maya Angelou, and I've connected with her multiple times, really considers her a spoken word poet, right? She's much more of a traditional literary poet, and she was sharing her book of poetry. So she was reading her book, just like Michelle Obama reading her book. It was essentially an audio book. That's very different than a spoken word album. It's actually 30 years, which is the real tragedy. It's over 30 years. The last sort of true to form spoken word poet that won with a spoken word album was 1979, dude named Ken Nordine. And after that, since then, the only two poets who have even come close were Nikki Giovanni, I think nominated about 17 years ago, and Maya Angelou, got the win and a nomination within that 12 to 17 years. So that's the real tragedy of it, is that, you know, this is called the best spoken word album category. And I think one of the things that we have to make sure that we're thinking about as poets, and we're defining this category for ourselves, is, you know, it's really the word poetry. You know, we keep saying spoken word, but you could define comedy as spoken word. You could define audiobooks as spoken word. Like if you just say the word spoken word, technically the word being spoken in whatever form could qualify for this category. But we know, and the world knows, that when you hear in culture the term spoken word, people think spoken word poetry. And so it's the poetry that is the distinguishing term, really. We are spoken word poets. We are performance poets. We create albums, right? It's not just I got the phone book and I read it as a voiceover artist, and now I'm submitting the phone book, but I created an actual album of my spoken word poetry, my artistry. And that really is the distinguishing factor that I think we have to make sure that we keep pushing for as we push to have this category separated. In general, the short history that I can try to give you, because it's tough to cram it into a short history. It took everything I had to get this nomination, to try to break these barriers. Number one, it took me doing what I try to do in general for this art form, which is just kick open doors, sort of believe in the impossible, and push this art form into places where it has been previously dismissed. I've done that in the business world. I've done it in the speaking world. So when I set my sights on music, it was like everybody was telling me. My own mom was like, "Yay, that's amazing! You're gonna go for the Grammy." But really though, you know what I mean? It was like, "Are you sure?" Because that seems like a little bit of a crazy notion. And I'm gonna tell you, real talk, the point that I realized how crazy it was. I knew the history. I knew we were going up against giants and audiobooks and so forth. But I didn't know the insides and outs, certainly not like Jay Ivy does with the category and just how the Academy works. And it wasn't until I'm glad I became a voting member that year also, and I'm glad that I waited to vote until the last day, because if I had voted earlier, I might have taken myself out of the running. Because when I looked at who I was up against, you know what I'm saying? Like, it freaked me the hell out. Like, I knew, okay, yeah, I lost to Michelle Obama. The Beastie Boys had a book, really cool husband and wife team that I met had a book about him surviving cancer. Some great audiobooks that were there. But the list of folks that were on the submission list were included Oprah Winfrey and Deepak Chopra and Common and Lin-Manuel Miranda and Bernie Sanders and Chuck D and Kamala Harris, like all of these massive folks. And I was like, there's no way in hell. What have I done? Like, I'm crazy. Like, there's no way in hell I'm beating these names. So I put everything I had into it, and I can talk about that, get into the details more on that. I'm gonna be doing some of my own stuff for this push for the category. So I'll be telling a lot more of the stories behind and the strategies that I used to get the nomination. God willing, once we split this category, it's just like with everybody that's first, right? Everybody that comes afterwards, hopefully it's going to be easier. So the hope is that once we split the category, y'all won't have to go through what I went through, right? But right. But I'll talk to you a lot more about the strategy that I use and so forth. If you want, you can kind of ask me those questions once you come up. But the main thing I'll say is just, think about the impossibility of looking at that list and realizing there's no way in hell that you're going to beat these names, and then waking up at 5 a.m. and hearing you got the nomination, and knowing that nomination doesn't just mean that for the first time a poet was recognized for the category in 30 years, but also you beat out all of those people. You know what I mean? Like, that was what made me actually try to be honest, Brandon, I never intended to go for the win. I'm gonna be real. I always knew Michelle Obama was going to submit. Even before I, got in and looked at the list, I was like, I'm going up against Michelle Obama. No way in the hell anybody's beating Michelle Obama. I already had that in my head. So I was like, I'm not going to try to go for the win. I'm just going to see if I can get a nomination. And even that's crazy. And then once I looked at who I beat, then it was like, well, shit. Why not go for the win then? You know what I mean? Like, if you can take out Oprah and Deepak, it's not as crazy then to think about taking out Michelle. So that really fueled me up for the second round of campaigning, and I gave it all that I had. And, I'm proud to say that I lost to Michelle Obama. If you got to get beat, that's a monster to get beat by. So it was, it's an incredible honor to have the nomination. It's an incredible honor to just be in that company. And, like somebody told me, your obituary has forever changed, like that. You're never known as the 2019 Grammy nominee. You were just forever a Grammy nominee, and your obituary has permanently changed. And so that, that was just a big part of the honor that I carry with me. And I'll say this last thing, the biggest honor though, for me, as somebody who's dedicated my career to helping to pioneer a more commercially viable industry for the art of spoken word. So we have an industry behind us,
That
not
part.
just, that's the reason why we're so devalued, that there's no industry, there's no infrastructure around us supporting it. So as somebody who's dedicated my career to that, the biggest honor for me in getting the nomination was all of the other poets that hit me up like, yo, thank you for even making me feel like this is possible. Like I never felt like I even had access to that. And I gotta tell you, brothers, Jive already knows this, like that is the driving force for me, right? It was cool to have the musicians and the industry and all the accolades was great. But the poets now suddenly having a new possibility in their head for us to be able to even be having these conversations. Think about it. Nobody was having these conversations before that year. Right. So just being able to create a model to crack open the door for more poets to now be able to bum rush, dude, that's the joy. That's the win for me. So that's all I'll say for now. And then you let me know if there's anything more that you want to know specifically.
Okay, cool. Thank you, man. Thank you for being a pioneer for us, brother. Like, and we're definitely gonna chop it up and follow up with this. I'm gonna follow through with this initiative. And like I said, we gonna split the category and we're gonna make subgenres and all of that, and we're gonna get some voting members. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, no
that's
doubt.
What's really important. Once we get in there, we can make stuff happen. Before I introduce my new speaker, I'm gonna go ahead and read a quick fact about him that's brand new. As you guys can see on the screen here. Hold on, let me go ahead and move the screen. Let me get this out of the way so I can read it. The brother says, I'm pleased to announce I was elected trustee for the Recording Academy Chicago chapter. It's an honor to join a community that fights for creators' rights, advocates to keep music in our schools, and helps the music community in times of need. First poet to hold a trustee seat. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, coming on to speak a little bit about the spoken word category and just a big brother of mine, ladies and gentlemen, Jay Ivy. Just a few words, man. I know you're a busy man. I appreciate you joining the meeting.
We miss applause. Woo, Jay Ivy!
Yeah, triple air horn. Somebody triple air horn in the comments.
We love you. I mean, we gotta like remember what it was like when we was actually in front of people. You know what I'm saying?
Likewise, man. We getting close, man. I can't wait to rock some joints. But man, yeah. First off, thank you for doing this. And it's a huge moment. Say cool, you already know what it is. We've been fighting this fight for a minute, and what you've done to you've opened up a lot of doors, and it's really time for us to take that 1-2 punch. So what I've been doing, and just give a little brief history about what I've been doing with the Recording Academy. I was approached years ago about becoming a member. After becoming a member of the Chicago chapter, which covers the Midwest, they asked me if I would join the board. I didn't know there was a board. So I joined the board, ran for the board, got voted onto the board. And after being on the board for a couple of years, hey, what you think about running for president of the Chicago chapter? For those that don't know, there are 12 chapters that make up the Recording Academy. Chicago Mid chapter being one of them. So in the history of the Recording Academy, 60 plus years history, I'm the first poet to hold a president seat, and now first poet to hold a trustee seat. And what that did for me was it really taught me the process about submissions, about how things work and move. And I really felt like the poet that sat by the door, right? It's like we out here getting this info, and then once you receive the information, you're like, oh, is this easy to submit? Like I could have been doing this for years.
Right.
And what I realized that I didn't know, so I didn't submit. And everybody I talk to, most poets, they just don't know. So what we've been working on since I've been president, was started in 19, it actually ended at the top of the month. We've been working to put the spoken word category forward. So everything that Sekou spoke on, really we're at the next phase, which is if we want to see the category split, if where audiobooks is in their own category and spoken word poets have their own category, if we want to have a chance to be nominated and bring home Grammys, If we want to have an opportunity to change the definition of what spoken word is, according to how the Recording Academy has it defined, it's now that we have to do the work to make sure that we letting them know that the community is here, and we do that by simply recording your albums, releasing your projects into the marketplace, and then make sure you're submitting before the deadline is hit. So we want to make some real powerful moves this coming season, Grammy season. And in order to do that, we need the poets to step up and make sure you're getting the album submitted. So the way you submit albums is through a voting member. So, and a voting member, once you become a voting member, that's something we'll work on as time comes. But once you become a voting member, you can submit as many projects as you want. So me, Jay Ivy, yeah, I want to submit my project. But man, Brandon got a dope project I love. Say cool, he already a voting member, but man, XYZ got projects I love. They not voting members yet. I can submit them. You know, so right now we're looking to get make sure 100 poets get projects submitted, because what that'll do is, one, it'll show the Recording Academy that we're here. And then once they see that we're here, they're already willing to make sure that we're heard and start making these changes. Now, being in the trust as a trustee, I'm in the room, you know, so there's a voice on behalf of our community in the room. And that's pretty much where we at, man. Our job is to do what we love to do. It's just a matter of getting it out to the people. And once we get it out, once we get it on iTunes and Spotify and all those things, Apple, whatever, once we get it out there, make sure we submitting before the deadline. And not just this year, we have to do this every year. We gotta like show up and prove like this is ours. Like you can't take what is spoken word, what we've been dedicating our lives and blood, sweat, and tears and creativity and time to. You can't give that award away to something that is not spoken word. As incredible as it may be, this isn't what we came up in. It's not what we love. It's not what we decided we want to do with our lives. So that's pretty much where we at. Man, I'm type loud talk.
Oh, my bad, brother. Look, I'm trying to get everything in order so that we don't have no
like
pauses.
A drum, like, let me keep up with the beat.
Yeah, I didn't hear nothing you said. I didn't hear nothing you said, Jay. All I heard was typing.
I apologize. man. Listen, that was thank you for saying that, Jay, man. So real quick,
yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna put a couple things on the screen. Just some quick facts for people to know. So I know the chat finna go crazy over this. Go crazy in the chat. Tell me your reaction to this. All right, album definition. For the purposes of eligibility, the Academy defines an album as having no less than 5 different tracks and having a total playing time of no less than 15 minutes. Somebody say 15 minutes, question mark. Only 15 minutes. Now, I know a whole bunch of long-winded poets, and so I know 15 minutes is a small order. All right. Right, 3 poems. That's what's up, K-Love. 3 poems. That's what I'm talking about. All 15 day. Minutes. That's a short feature. Say that, Pages. That's a fact. And so that's the first thing I want to share. We're gonna go down to the next thing. Let me see. And don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna put this in a PDF and I'm gonna email everybody who attended this meeting, so you will have this information. Okay.
I got that for you. Talk. It's already put together. So
bet. Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, email me that joint and I'm gonna forward that on. But I'm gonna read these real quick. To be eligible for a Grammy Award consideration, an album must contain greater than 51% of playing time of newly recorded. That means within 5 years of the release date. Now, I know some of you guys are thinking like, hey, how would they know if I did it? Most media files have metadata on there, and they'll like go through and search that and find out if the joint was created more than 5 years ago. Like they have ways of doing that. And so here's the thing though, keep in mind that when we talk about a master recording, right? For example, when we hear I Feel Good by James Brown on the radio, that's a specific master recording that has been duplicated. But every time we perform live or at a new show, that's an opportunity for a new master recording. So I'm encouraging a lot of you poets to the next open mic you go to, or the next time that you feature at a set, have somebody record the joint, and you could just submit that as a live album. You know what I'm saying? And so that will be a newer master copy. So even if you wrote the piece in 2005, this recording of that piece now exists in 2021, and it is eligible. It doesn't, that way it's old art, but it's still a new recording copy of it. That's why, like back in the day when we bought vinyls, you would see like Marvin Gaye live at the Palladium, Marvin Gaye live in Chicago, live in New York. They're different master recordings of those songs, right? But it sounds way different than the radio recording that we hear of, Ain't No Mountain High Enough, And so that's just something to keep in mind when it comes to submitting, work smarter, not harder. And so let me go back to this. Let me share the screen again. Okay, what else? Spoken word field. Now, this is all available on the website. Once again, like I say, that Jay Ivy has it in a much more beautiful document than I do, and I'm going to forward this to you guys, right? But I'm going to read it just for the sake of you guys knowing and retaining. Spoken word field or best spoken word album includes poetry, audiobooks, and storytelling for albums. Somebody say boo in the chat. Say boo in the chat for the audiobooks and the storytelling albums. We won't get them out of here, all right? They need their own category. Screening criteria. This category recognizes excellence in spoken word albums. Album of spoken word poetry, audiobook, storytelling, non-musical drama, sermons, narrations with or without music, collaboration, or accompaniment, and instructional recordings are eligible. Ain't that something? Instructional recordings are eligible. All right. If the recording has a musical accompaniment, but is primarily spoken word, the narrator would be eligible, while the musical accompanist may be identified in parentheses. Recordings that accompany children's picture books are eligible if the recorded content is non-repetitive and otherwise meets the requirements for an album entry. Recordings that feature song lyrics that are spoken or rapped are eligible in the appropriate genre categories. Incidental talk or conversation in the studio used as an accent to a musical recording does not constitute a spoken word performance. Compilations or excerpts of previously broadcast radio or television shows, albums of sound effects, and albums of environmental recordings are not eligible in this category. So it gets down to the nitty gritty. It lets you know what you can and can't do as far as like repurposing and using stuff over again. Let me see. I think it was one more page I wanted to share on there. Oh, that's just about the statue. We're gonna get there. Let me see. It's about the tickets.
Hey, while you scrolling, let me speak on real quick.
Okay, cool.
That what you just talked about, because that was huge for me. It took a lot of research, back and forth, multiple conversations with the Academy, chapter members, and so forth, to really just 100% clarify the eligibility of the music factor, right? If you have heard my album, it's a 6-track album. It's done in collaboration with the symphony orchestra. So it's music based, heavily music based. But there were 2 tracks that were solo tracks, one solo music and one solo poem a cappella. The other 4 were spoken word with the music. And that was confusing for me. And I know it's been confusing for a lot of people that have been asking about this. They have felt like, oh, if in order for it to be eligible, it can't have music with it. And so number one, just know that that's not true. 100%. Go to my album, go to Jay's album, go to any albums that were submitted, whatever. Absolutely, the albums can have music. But the one thing to be very clear on that was really interesting when he talked about so the spoken word category, best spoken word album category, is judged on the narration, which means it was only judged on my poetry. So even though you're listening to the album and it's got this huge symphonic score, they're listening and judging it based only on the spoken word. So then when I got the nomination, turns out, even though this was a collaborative album, only Sekou Andrews got the nomination. The String Theory, which was the orchestra I did in collaboration with, wasn't actually nominated, to the point where like they didn't even get tickets. They couldn't even walk the red carpet with me. They weren't even invited up to the stage. You know what I mean? Like it was awkward and uncomfortable And so it's just important for you to make sure that you're paying attention to all those distinctions. Number one, know that you can submit an album with music. That's not a problem, but also just be conscious of how the music is used and be aware of who will actually be nominated and who won't, until possibly that may change as the category changes. You know, now that we got King J. Ivy on the throne, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Hey,
now we in there.
To that point, like that's really one of the main things that we want to change, because I mean it's terrible to you know, build these relationships with people, people that you respect and admire, and y'all get in the studio, y'all work, y'all put the time and energy in, all that, and then for them not to be nominated,
Painful.
that ain't right. That ain't right. So that'll be another one of those changes that we will definitely be looking to address, and we will absolutely have more power and opportunity to do it if we step up and make sure you know, when they, because the numbers really based on what they deem a healthy category. So, and a healthy category is the number of submissions that category gets. So on the, like, they start, like, you know, looking at a category when it's only getting like 60 entries. Healthy is 100. So that's why we aim it at 100, because we know if we tell the poets 100, we make 1,000. So if they see that they're getting all these submissions, and most categories don't get that many submissions, maybe, you know, at most the bigger categories might get a few hundred maybe. But you'd be surprised that, like, with the spoken word category, it, like when Sekou was nominated, I mean, what was it, like 150 entries, 180 entries maybe? So you think it is like thousands of people, you know, working at aiming at this, but it's really not.
Because I only reckon, I mean, although you know, I don't know everybody. Obviously, I don't know every poet in the world, but there were only about 5 or 6 poets,
right,
that I recognize. You know what I mean? Like of our community. So obviously, there could have been a lot more that submitted that I just don't know their names. But I was shocked at how few poets had submitted, and that's what made me know how important the submission is to the
right. And that's a great point, Sekou, because, you know, out of those 150, 180, like Sekou said, it might only be 5. So the rest are audiobooks. So the audiobooks, the publishing world, they hitting heavy, like, yo. And it's really no hate to the audiobooks. Like, you know, I've done an audiobook. I got love for that. I just know that's something different. So love and respect for them, but we just got to do our job to get them into their own space, so we'll have our own space, because it's been long overdue. And the time, the moment that a poet, the time when we got 5 nominees of the poets, and a poet is bringing the Grammy home, and year after year that's happening, it changes the game. Like, it changes the game. The economy changes for what we do. You know, like you spoke to earlier, like creating a very viable industry for poets. That happens. I mean, it's not to validate who we are. We know what we do is powerful. But when it comes to marketing, when it comes to business, when it comes to cutting through the noise, things like this do help. Awards do help. You know, people take notice. So one, it'll change the game for us, and for those that are coming up, it's sky's the limit, man. So yeah.
Word. Okay, so real quick, we got a couple of questions in the chat, and so I'm gonna pull this up on my screen. I followed up with Bill and Kelly after the meeting, and so I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys some of the emails with the answers, with the questions answered. So you guys can kind of hear it directly from those folks. And also, I'm going to post their contact information, because they reassured me that they didn't mind me passing on the contact info for artists, for membership, and to understand how the awards actually go. So let me see real quick. All right, so actually, I'm going to pull this up. While I'm pulling up that email, I want you guys to go ahead and screenshot this. Everybody screenshot these 3 emails. And Kelly for Sale, she's in membership, right? So she deals with membership. So she can tell you guys specific questions about membership eligibility. What I do know is that the membership deadline, in order to be considered a member, a voting member for the 2022 awards, right? The 2021 awards already happened. So in order to be a voting member, you would had to have been cleared or submitted by March 1st of this year. So if you didn't submit and you didn't get chose as a Recording Academy member, then you have to wait. You have to apply now, but you won't be eligible to vote until next year's, 2023's award show. All right, so just keep that in mind. So everybody screenshot this real quick. Screenshot it, take a picture with your phone. I'm gonna leave it on for about 30 more seconds, and then I'm gonna show you guys some more details about it. And so, like I said, Kelly Purcell deals with membership. Linda deals with the awards, so she can tell you exactly like what's the eligibility for the awards, the details, the nitty gritty, the deadlines, as well as Bill Frymuth, who's the chief awards officer. And so these are their emails. And we're going to go ahead and take this off the screen in 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, cool. So, real quick. Safari. Okay, cool. So, let me see. All right. So I'm going to go to the email first with Kelly. So I reached out to Kelly Purcell. She's in membership. And so I wrote the three questions. I said, what's the deadline to submit a spoken word album to be considered for the 2022 Grammys, right? That's this coming February. Let me see. So here's the first answer. Our online entry process starts this summer. Let me make it a little bit bigger. Starts this summer on July 13th. Round one is from July 13th to July 29th. So I'm going to type that in the chat so that you guys can, or you can screenshot it if you want to. Once again, after this meeting is over, I'm going to upload this meeting to a private link on YouTube, and everybody who attended this meeting will be able to access it. And I'll have the information that all this will be typed up in a document that Jay Ivy's going to send me. All right. So we got round one and round two. So somebody write that in the chat. Write round one. Right. Actually, let me copy and paste it. Boom. This is round one. All right. So this is round one. And then you guys, boom. Round one is from July 13th to July 29th. Okay. And round two is from August 17th to August 31st. These dates are crucial as they are the only periods folks can enter a product to qualify for the 2022 Grammys. So make sure you mark your calendar. Okay. Let me see. Go back to the chat. Cool. Boom. So write those two things down. Now I'm going to skip around because there's something unique about these two dates, right? There's something unique about these two dates. Let me see. So then I said, to become a member, do we just pay a fee or do we have to join BMI ASCAP and then pay the Recording Academy fee? She says there's an annual application process to become a member that folks go through, which I'm happy to go over with when you have some time. Once approved, you simply just pay the Recording Academy membership dues. You do not have to join BMI or ASCAP prior to joining the Academy. All right. And so for question number 2, she brought in Linda. That was the second contact that I gave you guys, right? So my second question said, what are the 5 things to qualify an album to be considered, right? I just threw an example in there. And so she answered me. She said, boom, an album must contain at least 5 tracks, different songs, spoken word content, not different mixes, and have a total playing time of at least 15 minutes, or it may have any number of tracks if the total playing time is at 30 minutes. B, an album, I think she meant to say album, must contain over 51% of newly recorded material, recorded within 5 years of the release date and not previously released. This is important, right? Within 5 years of the release date. So for example, if you recorded an album last year and you released it this year, you can use that. If you recorded an album 3 years ago, but you haven't released it yet, right? And you released it this year, you can use it. So that's 2 things to keep in mind, right? The first thing is that the music has to be recorded, newly recorded, quote unquote, within the last 5 years, but it can't be released. Released means out on streaming sites, okay? So step 1 is recording the album or gathering the recorded material that's been recorded within the past 5 years. and then you have to release it. I personally use TuneCore, but I recommend you guys either use TuneCore or DistroKid. And actually, I'm gonna start using DistroKid because they're able to do like royalty splits on there, and so that's very very helpful. Because I'm gonna do some compilation albums here, and so I see some advocates for DistroKid. And so let me see. Let me go back to this. Go back to this Safari. All right. Recordings must be available to the public, right, on streaming sites, basically. As standalone purchases or streams, audio only. Products must be available for sale on a nationwide basis in the U.S. General distribution. Imports are not eligible. Members and labels can make submissions into the OEP process. Spoken word category is a narrator's award. Music is allowed as long as it's background or less than 51% of the album. Okay, so let me see. All right, here we go. Now, for the first thing, when I was talking about run around two, and we're coming to an end for this meeting as well, just in case you guys are wondering. All right, so and I'm going to post this in the chat so you guys can kind of copy and paste into your notes or your Word document. I really hope that you guys have been like taking notes like for yourself so you don't have to come back and see this over again. All right, so when I asked Bill, who's the chief over the awards, I asked him what's the deadline to submit a spoken word album to be considered for the 2022 Grammys. He said if the recording is released between September 1, 2020 and July 31st, it must be entered during the first round entry period, which is July 13th through 29th. All right. Once again, if the recording was released, that means if you dropped the album already this year, right? Or if you're going to drop an album, you have to drop it means it has to be distributed on streaming sites, right? It has to be out and on streaming sites by July 31st. And then you would submit it during the July 13th through 29th time period. So once it's out, you get in contact with me or get in contact with Jay Ivy or Sekou. And actually this I'm using this as a resource. So you get in contact with me and I'll get you guys in contact with them so that we can make sure that your album is submitted and counted for the first round. Now, if it will be released, hello?
Yeah, physical copies are acceptable too. You just have to show like what stores and all that. It's a different process, but it's an older school process that existed before streaming was available because everybody don't put their stuff on stream. So anybody out there that just want to do physical copies and no streams, you can submit as well.
Okay, cool. Thank you for the info, bro. Thank you. Now for round two, if it will be released in August or September 2021, then it must be entered in the second round period, which is August 17th through the 31st. Entries must be submitted by current voting or professional members of the Academy or media companies, record labels who have registered with us. Once again, you cannot submit you on your own. You have to submit through a member of the Grammys or a member of the Recording Academy. And so we have our advocates on here helping us out, Jay Ivy and Sekou. Let me see. And so I think that, let's go ahead. I think that's pretty much, I'm going to go into, okay, someone says physical submissions. What's that process? Is that written somewhere, Jay, or could you get us some information on that?
Yeah, it's on the site. It's like vinyl, cassettes, CD. Anybody that's still doing, physical joints. I know you have to mail in the copies. Like it's a physical mail-in package that they'll provide you, an address they'll provide you with. Same submission process, but you have to mail in the product.
Okay. Got you. So Jay, real quick, and Sekou, maybe you can help me out with this too. So when we submit, so say for example, all right, boom, tomorrow, me and like 30 of the people in here, we record a compilation album, we get it done, and then we put it on streaming sites. Let's say it's on the streaming sites by like next week. Then what do, Jay? We come to you or we come to Sekou, and then what's the submitting process? Is it like you guys write the name, the album, and then the universal commercial code or whatever for the project? And then they give you like, I guess, a receipt saying that you submitted it?
Pretty much, that's it. I mean, it's really like once you're a voting member and you're submitting, I mean, if you have all the information in front of you that you need to submit, I mean, it literally takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you know, just once you dot your I's and cross your T's. But just off top, I know they asked for artist, album title, release date, when it was recorded, the is it the ISRC they asked for, Sekou? Or the ISRC? Or the
I think so. I think so. It's a little fuzzy. I'm laughing at you saying it takes 5 minutes because when I did it, it felt like it was 7 hours.
I feel like that.
Because I was like, you know, it was my first time and I pushed the wrong button. You know what I mean? So I was like, how do I spell my name? Let me make sure I get that right.
That's
you know,
for real.
Right. It is a quick process.
But it may take 2 days to hit that submit button though.
Right.
A couple days that button.
Yep.
Word.
Yo, the one thing I will say, and this is just me. I'm just gonna be real. This is just my perspective. This is my approach. This is the approach that I've taken to everything that I've done in trying to create an industry for spoken word. I have a real high standard of excellence. Now, I want poets to raise their standard of excellence. And I'm just going to say that. I think right now we're playing a volume game. So right now it's about just submit. You know, everybody has heard a dope album. Everybody has heard a shitty album, right? Yeah. Just because your album is being submitted, it may not be a really dope album. You know what I mean? You have, especially poets, we tend to do stuff real low budget and we end up having crappy mics and crappy sound. You can barely hear the spoken word over the audience. And it's just not a representation of our art form, right? We didn't take care in the delivery of the art form. So right now, I will say it's a volume game. Just submit. It doesn't matter, to be honest, like how dope it is, how excellent it is, how high the quality is. But for me personally, I'm always playing chess, and the chess move is eventually, once we get this category split, it's about the caliber of the album. It's about making sure that we're not just begging the Academy, hey, you know, you should count us too. You know, we think we're good, but it's showing them, yo, check out this album we just did. This is a Grammy caliber album. This album rivals anything that whatever Snoop or Anderson .Paak or, you know, whoever released. This album rivals that. And there are spoken word albums out there where the artist took the time, they went in the studio. J. Ivy's last album, perfect example. The artist goes in, takes the time, you know, creates the production, mixes it right, and says, my album should be considered with the rest of these because of this quality, as opposed to just I recorded a bootleg in my bathroom and I'm begging you to let me in the category. There is a difference. So to me right now, don't let that stop you from submitting. Submit, because we need that 100 poets. We need to create a healthy category, but be prepared to step up our game, poets, as well.
Yeah.
Word. And so that to veggie back off of that, actually brings me to my initiative for the meeting, right? So for 100 Griots take the Grammys, we got a call to action, all right? And so pretty much that speaks to what brother Sekou said. And let me pull this up real quick, just so everybody can kind of see it and it can be ingrained in the brains. All right. So I got that from my brother O'Shea, food for thought. Yeah, veggie back. You know what I'm saying? I cite my sources. So this is our initiative for 100 Griots to the Grammys, right? It's 50 of us in here. So if we all submit 2 albums, that's 100. Now, this is what this is my call to action for everybody on here. Submit 2 albums. One will be a live performance from an open mic, or some type of live performance that is 15 minutes, right? I think really 4 poems and then like a Q&A. Have somebody ask you, where were you at when you wrote these pieces? And it's going to end up being longer than 15 minutes. If you spit 4 pieces and then somebody asks you about each of them individually, you submit the audio to me, I'll package it in the album for you so that you can, take it to DistroKid and all of that. And so that's the service that I'm offering everybody free of charge, as far as like putting the album together. Because like I said, with the live album, I don't have to do no super mixing and mastering. I can just put this one little plug-in on it that I got on GarageBand, so it sounds really good as a live album, and I can put that together, right? And so that's what we're gonna help with 100 Griots take the Grammys. And so I'm gonna help with that album so that we can get those in real quick. And then I'll help you guys with the step-by-step process of DistroKid and with TuneCore. That way I'll walk you guys through it. You know what I'm saying? I got time, and so I'm gonna help y'all with it because the initiative is much greater, and so that's what I'll be donating my time and my talents to do for this initiative. For round 1 and round 2. So that's submit 2 albums. One is a live performance from an open mic, or just, you know, you can literally tonight record 4 albums, 4 albums, 4 poems, I'm sorry, 4 pieces in front of a small audience, and then send them to me. You could text them to me. You could email them to me. I'm gonna download them, put them in album form, show you how to submit them joints, and then we're gonna get them submitted. And then 2, I think the second one should be your best foot forward, as Brother Sekou just said, a recorded album that is high quality. Produce it, spare no expense on that joint. And because it's 15 minutes, if you end up making it an hour long, then make it 2 albums. You feel me? Make it a double disc. Get your All Eyes on Me and Biggie on. You know what I'm saying? But that's my call to action for everybody in here. And in addition to that, this is just it's not in the same vein of the subject, but this is just for poets, as far as like to help twofold with this submission, and to help with just you guys as you're traveling around performing, and so on and so forth. Now, we know that some people still buy CDs, but not as much. And so Jay Ivy and myself and 72 other brothers from across the country, we put together the Black Love mixtape, this book right here. Sekou, I don't know if you've seen this. But Brother O'Shea from Watts, he reached out to me when I was in LA, and he showed me this technology, the QR. He showed me the QR code put in a poetry book, and he was like, yo, you should do your books like this. Now, this was like 4 years ago, and I said, bet, I'm finna do that. And so boom, we got a book done, and we got the QR code, you know what I'm saying? Boom, there we go, right there. We got the QR code in there. So when you scan it, I'm gonna show you guys with my phone, right? When you scan it and you open up your camera and you put it over the code like this. Hold on, let me quit trying to be things backwards. I ain't that talented. Hold on, boom, there you go. See the link popped up? Tap it right there, and it takes you to a private playlist of that artist spitting that piece. It's an audio book built into the physical book, right? And so Malcolm Jamal Warner's in this book, as well as Big Boy from Outkast. A bunch of poets, a lot of them are on here too right now. But I encourage, so poets, check this out. I know y'all see me running around with this book. I don't own the technology idea of putting QR codes in books. I think this is the new standard. So if you have a book, I challenge you to reproduce it and put that in there and let it go to a playlist on your website or on YouTube of you performing that piece. That way you kind of already have your audiobook done. Or have it lead to your DistroKid link that goes to your iTunes or your Apple Music or your Tidal or your Spotify, right? So that as cats are purchasing your book, they can scan this. This is interactive. And of course, you guys know, like I know, you can sell books for more than you sold CDs for. So it's going to help you while you're on the road. Here's another book that I published for a youth group here in East St. Louis. I did the same thing with their technology. I had everybody record their piece, and then I put it on a YouTube playlist for the trio. It was a trio program, and I made a playlist, and so all their poems are on there. So when you go there and read the book, you scan it, it goes to that playlist. And so these are some things that you guys can do to kind of adapt to that. If you have albums already, that's good. Get those lyrics, put it in the book, put the QR code on it. All right. But the first thing you want to do is submit a new recording this year of at least 15 minutes of you performing. All right. And so, man, I think we pretty much covered all the bases on this, as far as like the initiatives or the call to action. So once again, I'm gonna put this on the screen. Submit 2 albums. That's what I want everybody to do. If you need help with submitting the albums or putting the albums together, that's what I'm gonna help with. Okay. So Brandon's gonna help with putting the albums together. And so and then number 2, if you have a recorded album that's done already, or put a best foot forward on it, make a really dope project, and like I say, get it to the streaming sites. That's going to be the quickest, the fastest way. And How small is a live audience? It could be as small or as big as you want. It ain't got to be an audience. I'm just encouraging you to do that. If you go to an open mic, they let you spit 2 pieces. Go to another open mic, you record them other 2 pieces, and then have some. You call me, and then I'll interview you. Where were you at when you wrote this piece? And then we got you giving commentary on it. So it's beefing it up a little bit, but it's still the majority spoken word.
Yeah, let me say this too.
Okay.
Man, I would encourage everybody to just be super creative and man, just like tell your story how you want to tell your story. I love the live audience aspect. That could be in your living room with doing poetry for your fam. Like it could be whatever, just be open, creative, find your sound, and man, like Sekou was saying, and Brandon was saying, make sure you got some high quality joint. We want the we have to make sure that the culture is represented at a high level. That's one thing. Two, wait, hit that mute for me because
Oh, my bad.
that fast. I can't think that fast. Like I'm tired. So the other thing too, and just so y'all aware, like with it's a great idea to submit 2 albums, but be aware if you submit 2 albums, you are competing against yourself. So for this one, yeah, okay, but maybe going forward, that happened to me once where I submitted a project in the spoken word category. I submitted another project in a different category, and they put both projects in the spoken word category. So now I have 2 projects that I'm competing against myself with. And the other thing is with compilations, it's just be aware that I believe it's 50%, whoever produces 50% of the project, that's who the award goes to. So just be aware if you do come together, and they still working out like who all would get the Grammy on those projects. So just be aware of that as well. So if 20 people come together and do an album, it's dope that an album being submitted, but who all is gonna get the Grammys, just be aware of that too.
Okay. Cool.
Oh, and then somebody did ask earlier too about how can you submit something, how can you release something in September and still what was the exact question, still be released or whatever?
Yeah, I think my brother John, he wrote that. I said, "What do you want?" Let me see.
How can you drop in September 21 and be entered by August 31st? So the submission deadline is August 31st. So last year, for instance, my album came out. They came out at the end of August. It was a different time window though, but it came out August 31st. The submission deadline was August 1st. So you have to make sure that you submit even if your project comes out after the submission date. So for this year, that's September. So once that submission deadline is up, you can't submit. So make sure you submit. Even if your project is coming out after that, make sure you submit before that date.
Word, cool. So, what I want to say to kind of just wrap this meeting up is that, back to the initiative. So for the live album, ladies and gentlemen, for the quick thing, just for the numbers, right? Just for the sake of getting the numbers in, I'm gonna put a hard deadline on everybody for July 10th. Okay, so I want you guys to submit a live album to me by July 10th. And that way I can kind of give them to Jay in bulk, and we can run them off one by one. And then what I'm gonna do, for the sake of there kind of being like a live ledger or a blockchain, so to speak, on the website, I'm creating a website for 100 Griots Take the Grammys, and I'm gonna start putting a list of the names of people who have officially submitted, in addition to their album covers and the album titles, so that we can start kind of archiving this thing, and also hold the Grammys accountable. Like, hey, we ain't gonna submit all these albums, and y'all ain't gonna act like y'all see what I'm saying, what's going on. And we're gonna have the official codes, so on and so forth. And I seen somebody ask earlier. They said it's just a 1-year initiative. It is not. We're gonna keep this going forever. I'm mapping out a plan for the next 5 years, right? As far as the goals that we want to. So for this Grammys, the categories are already set, right? Any new categories, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, any new categories have to be voted on by the trustees and then approved to take an effect for whichever the next Grammys are going to be, right? So, for example, anything for 2023 is still being decided right now. And then there's going to be a deadline for that to say, okay, we can't change nothing else till 2024, right? So, and actually on the Grammys website they have that too. They'll say, hey, here are new rules that are getting ready to go into effect by 2023 as far as album length, so on and so forth. And so, for us, 100 Griots take the Grammys for year one, which is 2020, is to submit over 100 albums. Our initiative by year two is to split the category into 2 or more, right? We ain't gonna be too greedy. I want to split it into 10, you feel me? But to split the categories into different so maybe by year 2023 it isn't just best spoken word album, but we have best spoken word album and best spoken word performance, and then we have best spoken word artist, and then best spoken word performance in a film, things like that. Best spoken word producer, right? That way, it increases the likelihood of industrializing it, as Brother Sekou said earlier, and making it, even a more established genre. We know it's established. We know that we do this. We know that it impacts people. I just realized my thing's down here. We know that it impacts people, and so this is just a way to help it grow in a major way. And of course, you guys know it's going to help that price increase. You feel me, for that speaker fee and all of that jazz. And so, man, without further ado, I don't want to hold you guys any longer. Brother Sekou, do you have any words? And then after that, Jay Ivy, do you have any last words or just some last hurrahs or war cries?
Yeah, first of all, actually, just 2 quick points about what you just said. One is, yes, I'm glad you mentioned that timeline, because I think it's important for folks to remember. Right now, like I said, it's a volume game. So right now, it's just all we're trying to do this year is to submit, to show them that there are poets out there that will submit. You will be going up against Barack Obama this year. You know what I mean? Like, let's keep it real. The category is not split
You
yet.
will.
Right. So you will be going up
Man,
against the Oprahs and the Barack Obamas. Your chances are just as small of getting a nomination or a win as they always were. And yet it's just as possible as it always was. Right. But just know that, like, the environment of the category hasn't changed yet. But this is going to be the first step towards them taking a look and saying, oh, okay, these poets are serious. Let's reconsider that. So that's the important thing, to just so you can manage your expectations as you're doing it. The second thing is, make sure, and I say this to you, Brandon, as well, just keep checking with Jay, keep checking with Kelly, keep checking the website for, and by the way, shout out to Kelly and Linda. They were incredibly helpful. Definitely, I'm glad you included their information. They were incredibly helpful to me, and they're sweethearts. They're great women. So definitely use them as a resource, but keep checking with them for the solicitation guidelines, because that's super important. They have very strict solicitation guidelines on what you can and cannot say, how you can present it. Like, say, for example, right now, I just talked about the competitors, Oprah Winfrey, Deepak Chopra. While I was campaigning, I couldn't talk about who my competitors were. I couldn't specifically mention people by name, right? So there were all these guidelines, and I want to make sure that, Brandon, because you're sort of taking this charge on behalf of a lot of poets, that you're helping to make sure that they're paying attention to what they can and can't say, so that they don't get removed from the category because they broke the solicitation rules. So pay very close attention to that.
Even with using the name Grammys, that's why I was telling you I'm gonna send you something that's uniform, because their logo, like they're very, very particular about how that logo is used, where it's used. So you don't ever want to bring the wrong attention to you just because you use the logo or use the name Grammy. So we got to be careful with that too.
Yeah, and perfect example of that is, like, when I go back to the 12 and 30 years, that's why during my campaign we used 12, because we were like, well, we don't want to get into this semantic battle about, was Maya Angelou or Nikki Giovanni a spoken word poet? But after I was done campaigning, I began to use 30 because that's more accurate. So we were just super careful, because we kept getting a lot of people who are advisors and campaigners saying, I wouldn't say that. I've seen people get kicked out for that, et cetera, et cetera. And then the last thing I'll say is just, shout out to you, Brandon. Shout out to you, Jay. I've already told, giving you love for just what you guys are doing. As I told Jay, like, this was super close to my heart. It was part of my 5-year plan and trajectory. After 2019, I got the nomination. I I went to the Grammys in 2020 in January, and I took off I literally left from the downtown LA hotel where I was staying straight to the airport for a bunch of gigs and speaking engagements with the plan to come back and do exactly this. And then, I don't know if you guys know this, but a global pandemic happened a couple months later. So I went into like save the company mode, survival mode, and I couldn't get this done. So I just love when the community steps up. You can't carry every load yourself, So for me to crack open the doors with what little effort I was able to make, and now see brothers like Jay becoming a trustee. I swear, my favorite words, as somebody that's trying to create a legacy for an industry for spoken word, my favorite words are the first poet to blank. So Jay being the first poet to be a chapter member and the first poet to be, I love that shit. That's what drives me. So I love to see the community step up. I love that you brothers are taking this charge. Use me however you can. I'm gonna be doing some additional clubhouse sessions on this topic, and I'm just doing a lot of stuff about the business of poetry right now in general. So make sure that you follow me on Clubhouse and follow me on social, and you'll see me pop up doing more about the business of spoken word with a specific focus on the Grammy category push. And use me however you can. I'm definitely down and proud of y'all for doing this. So thank you.
Word, Sekou, what's your IG?
Sekou World, SEKOU World.
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm gonna put that up on the screen so people can screenshot that real quick. And then Jay, I'm gonna pull yours up as well. So real quick, I'm gonna give everybody 30 seconds. Screenshot this and follow up with Sekou. All right, I'm gonna give everybody 30 seconds. 30 seconds. And if we're gonna pull up Jay's joint as well. Now listen, I'm gonna provide everybody with a recording of this playback as well as the vital information for voting. Okay, so don't flood my brothers. All right, don't flood them too much. And please don't ask them questions that have already been answered in here or that we've given you the information for. All right, that'll just help things move much smoother. All right, so J_IVY. Boom. I thought somebody was trying to steal your name, man. Oh, we can't do that. All right, go ahead. It just said IV, no Y.
Folks be trying.
Right. Nah, it's copywritten, so don't copy me. That was missing. All right, so everybody screenshot this. I'm gonna give y'all 30 seconds. And then we're gonna get up out of here. I see a couple of people had their hands raised. We were answering questions in the chat. Sorry about that. There was like an official Q&A box. And so I was answering questions one by one, and then I was trying to answer questions in the chat while muting myself so that you guys didn't hear the drumming of my typing. So yeah, screenshot this. All right, cool. And then let me see. I guess I'll throw mine on there too. Some of you guys follow me, some of you guys don't. But this is my profile. I don't mind you guys. You guys can message me as much as you want because I'm advocating this thing and I'm spearheading this 100 Griots Take the Grammys. So feel free to reach out to me. It's just my full name, Brandon Alexander Williams. I'm only gonna have it up for 10 seconds because my name is also on my name on here. All right, so real quick, I'm gonna let Georgia Me. I don't know if she still wants to talk, but Georgia Me, you still on here? You unmuted right now.
I'm just so proud of y'all. I don't really have anything to say. I love y'all so much. I'm just so happy. Y'all know I don't have these conversations with y'all for years, so I'm just grateful to God. So we gonna do this, and this is the perfect time. And it's so much going on, y'all. It's so many things going on every end, everywhere. So it's our time. So whatever y'all need, y'all know y'all can hit me. And Jay, I'm sorry I missed the other call. That's why I made sure I was here.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. You was there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's up.
All
right. Thank you, Georgia. All right, and then last but not least, hold on. Let me see. Last but not least, brother Keith, you are. Well, I'm asking you to unmute Keith Rogers. Keith Rogers, Black on Black Rhyme. South. Hello, spoken word legend. Florida spoken word pioneer. Go ahead, sir.
How y'all doing?
We good.
I love the initiative. For the first time on a Zoom call, I got to listen for a whole hour straight without saying anything. I didn't think it was possible, but y'all hushed me up.
I'm blessed, man.
I will try to get some. I will try to get some more poets and submit some content so we can get those categories in there. And y'all, some of us got 9 to 5s now, but it's good to see y'all still keeping it alive. It's beautiful. So a lot of people talking about having jammies. We talking about getting Grammys. I like that.
Word, that's what's up, man. We're gonna do it. We're gonna do it, big bro. So listen, everybody who joined the Zoom call, of course, my email was attached to it. But just in case you don't have it, I'm gonna put it in the chat right. Actually, I'm gonna pull it up on the screen. So let me go ahead and let me make it a big old document real quick. Do monitor griot86@gmail.com. All right, so this here is, let me download it. Come on. So this is my email. All right, so this is where I want you guys to send your live albums to. That's just if you need help like putting it together. You know what I'm saying? So for example, if you record your live show and it's 20 minutes, right? And you're like, "Hey Brandon, I did 4 different poems. Can you make this flow seamlessly but still be in separate tracks?" I can do that for you. You know what I'm saying? I can go in there and make sure that everything flows directly through, and then show you how to get that joint on streaming sites so that it can be counted for eligibility. All right. So once again, that's what my powers would be. Hold on, here we go. Boom. This is my email. This is my personal email. Everybody screenshot this. I'm putting it on for 30 seconds. Screenshot this. This is my personal email. So send me like a Dropbox file of the audio file. And like I say, I'll chop it up and make it flow real nice. I'm gonna pull up. Let me see. Foxman. Learn from the Foxman. Boom. So for example, all right, I'm gonna show this for 10 more seconds. 10 more seconds. And all right, screenshot that, and boom, we done. Now the last thing I'm gonna show you guys is like boom. So when you send the album to me, I'm gonna chop it up and make it flow real nice like this. We're gonna label it, and I'm gonna put the your album cover on the front. You feel me? So like this is a live spoken word album that sadly I did in 2018, so I can't, it's already out, so I can't submit this, right? But I'll make sure that it flows nice and that everything is labeled. You know what I'm saying? So that it goes all the way through. And that way, when you go to submit it, everything is uniformed. It's going to be in WAV format, as well as MP3 format. Because when you upload to TuneCore and DistroKid, it has to be a WAV format, so on and so forth. Last but not least, I put the solicitation guidelines. Thank you for mentioning that, Sekou. The solicitation and voting guidelines into the chat. I'm going to post it again right now. I want you guys to copy and paste that so you can understand that more. And I'm going to get that info from Jay Ivy, and I'm going to email everybody. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. I appreciate you for your time. I really do. Thank you guys for tuning in. We finna get on up out of here. Any last words, Jay?
Yeah. Again, presentation is everything. 20 years ago, when poets like George and me and Sekou and myself were submitting for Deaf Poetry, please believe presentation was a big part of what caught people's eye. Your professionalism, how you package your work, how you treat your work is how other people will treat your work and view your work. So make sure you love on the work. And then I was gonna say to Sekou point, we may sneak a poet in this year because I think Amanda may get, Dear Mr. President. I think.
Oh yeah. Well, if anybody got a chance.
Right. So it might actually line up pretty well for us where we do have a poet represented next year.
Yeah.
And then the following years we have 5 poets, represented every year. So so that was the last thing I wanted to say, man. I'm looking forward
Man,
to.
I'm hoping for that, baby. I'm praying for that one. That'll be huge.
Be huge.
Yeah.
Huge. And Barack already got one. So it's a lot of these authors that got or celebrities that had these Grammys. So it's time for us to get them, man. So love y'all, man.
Yeah.
Brent, thank you for doing this. Sekou, thank you for being here. Spreading up that wisdom in your story. And let's get it, Georgia. We love you, girl.
Yeah. So hold on one second, real quick. So for what I'm doing specifically for my region, I live in St. Louis now, right? But I'm from Illinois, so I'm gonna set up 3 locations, right? I'm gonna set up 3 locations: one in Chicago, one in Peoria, Illinois, because that's where I grew up at. You feel me? And then one in St. Louis. And what I'm gonna do is one of the here's something that I'm doing and that I'll suggest for you guys to do. You don't have to do. I'm reaching out to either a local barbershop or a cafe that has traditionally held open mics in that city, and I'm gonna post up there and set up an on-site recording studio for about an 8-hour block. So artists can pull up, record their 15 minutes, and get on up out of there. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna provide extra resources in your city. I encourage you to do that. You know what I'm saying? I'll actually be in Atlanta Saturday, so I'm gonna set up something very small. Haven't found the location yet, but when I do, I'm gonna post that like on the website, and I'm gonna mass email everybody that's a part of this, right? So that you guys know. Thank you, Robin. I appreciate that. I'm gonna follow up with you on that. When I do Chicago, I will do multiple locations because of how big the city is. So it's gonna be a west side, west suburban, north side, north suburban, downtown, south side, and south suburban location that we're gonna get cracking all at once. Real quick, Keith Rogers, what'd you say? What was your question?
Can we get a copy of this recording of this meeting so we can share it in other poetry groups?
Yeah. In the next within the next 12 hours, I'm gonna upload this to a YouTube link, a unlisted YouTube link, so everybody will be able to check it out if they get that link. And then I also embed it on this website. What'd you say?
Please spread the word. Like
Yeah.
all poets on here, you know, you have poets in your network that don't have any idea of this information. So
Yeah.
by all means, like spread it, because whoever wins, when we win, we all win.
That's a fact.
When we see somebody, when we see a poet on a commercial, poetry won. We see a poet on an album, a Grammy winning album, we all win. We see Say Cool becoming nominated, we all win. So make sure that you spreading that information because it helps everyone.
That's a fact. And listen, like to veggie back off of what Jay said, like Jay, like, and I could be on here for hours about how many people in the chat and of the panelists that have thrown me alley oops and opportunities in big ways, you know, voluntarily and purposely and accidentally. You know what I'm saying? And so this will turn into more opportunities. You know, like for example, I ended up doing some work with a advertising agency by the name of Burrell. And some people that know in Chicago, Burrell is the biggest advertising agency in the Midwest that is black owned. And they work with McDonald's, they work with Toyota, right? And stuff like that. And so to walk into a meeting one day and then see Jay in the meeting and him kind of look like, oh, snap, like you made it in. Oh, let me give you some more game now that you're in here. You know what I'm saying? And so these types of things will happen and you will be able to make a living from your art. Like starving artistry is dead. That's over with. And I'm here to help y'all. So I'm gonna get on up out of here, man. But yes, the recording will be posted. And like I say, if you're in here, I have your email, so you will be sent the email, and then you can pass it on to folks. I'm gonna get the website up and running for 100 Griots to the Grammys. And man, I appreciate you guys, man. I appreciate you all for tuning in. And like I say, let the folks know, spread the word, and we're gonna get on up out of here.
All right, much love, good people.
All right.
Yeah,
all right, peace, y'all.
Stay cool.
Yeah.
Safe, brother.
You too.
You guys can go ahead and log. I'm just gonna say a couple of words as people are leaving. I invited specifically some musicians as well as some filmmakers in here. So I will be providing their information as well, and they'll be on location. So if you pop up in one of my locations, in Chicago, Peoria, or St. Louis, or even Atlanta, because I'm gonna do something in Atlanta this Saturday, then we will film it and capture it all. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna put together like a little mini documentary of this whole, charge. And everything as we move forward. So appreciate y'all, man. I'm gonna get on up out of here. Peace and love.
Good night.